Hello. Welcome to the channel. Oh my goodness. How are you guys doing tonight? Please drop a comment. Let me know you're here. Say hello. It's been a long time since I have been using this type of technology, but I'm so excited to be here tonight. If this is your first time coming on to the channel, welcome. How are you doing tonight? So, drop a comment. Let me know where you're from. So this is going to be a very engaging platform. And my whole objective is to get to know who you are and bring some really exciting topics surrounding about financials, and also industry topics, career industry topics, especially in sales and in the financial services arena. So again, my name is Shalita Shantae. Welcome to the Millionaire Portfolio with Shalita Shantae. So again, I'm so excited to be here. I have a wonderful guest tonight, and we're going to basically go over just a few important strategies, but most importantly, you will see how just having one professional, there's so many different aspects of financial services. One being a CPA, you have trust attorneys that do different things with financial services. You have financial advisors, financial consultants, financial coaches. So on this channel, you will learn the ins and outs of what these titles mean and where you would fall in line as far as a need basis for how to get started on your financial journey. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I might have a background they say you change industries, like they say a woman changes her industry, or a male changes industry at least 2 to 3 times in their lifespan. So whenever we do that, it is such a huge transition. And I remember transitioning over into the financial service arena approximately 10 to 12 years ago. And, what we do as professionals, we build upon that. We take things that we learn and we utilize them over into new careers, new professions, So it's not like we're completely starting all over again. But even though when we start new things, we do go through a whole entire learning curve. So I did that about 12 years ago. I got into the industry around 2012. I started as a licensed agent. And what I brought with me was some really strong marketing skills. So I took the marketing skills that I learned from the beauty industry, brought them over to financial services. And I was like, took him back, because what I learned is that this is such a, how can I say it? It is such a compliant, regulated industry that you just can't do any and everything you want. You cannot say any and everything that you want. And you cannot market yourself any and every kind of way that you want. So compliance is what people in our industry would call definitely a pain in the butt. So I started as a career agent, excelled in from working with a company that really supplied me with a lot of training and built a foundation there. Then I worked with an international company, and went into some really grueling training and learned a lot about different products and a diversity of different products, financial products, that is. And so what I did was took my real life experiences and compiled them together with the things that I was learning. And you know what? I put some sense behind it. And so now we're here. I'm the founder of the Millionaire Portfolio Group economic consulting firm. And it's funny, we started as an educational organization. We went to universities such as Florida State University, FAMU University, and working with the business students there, helping them gain real world experiences, which is so important. We can't not do everything theoretically. Eventually, we have to jump eventually. So that's how this platform came about. We became a licensed business about 3 years ago, approximately, and started working with state and county government facilitators, administrators, law firms to get their financial products distributed, such as one of our biggest campaigns was student loan debt, and one of our biggest consumers was nonprofits in the 403B market. If you don't know what that is, that's for school teachers, and anyone that's a nonprofit actually qualifies for a 403B investment product. And when you hear these terms, those are really literally just IRS terms and a way to identify what type of product are you writing in. So what type of product are you writing in? That is very important to know. So again, this will be very exciting, very engaging. Before we launch today, we had some questions, and those questions were a few survey questions. We were able to get some feedback on those questions, and I'm telling you, we had so much fun. So many people drop, questions on that survey, and I'm about to post them here in a minute. So right now we have a few people online. We did have a little technical difficulties. We had to kind of switch up the link, but that is okay. So you know what? One thing about takeoff, you can't let anything stop you. If you're determined to take off, then that's exactly what you have to do. You have to be proactive. You have to be action. You have to definitely be actionable in your goals. So can't let anything stop you. So tonight I was determined. I said, you know what? I don't care. We're going to go through this. It's going to get done. It's going to get done. So again, we're going to have a phenomenal time. And I have Alex Davis sitting in the studio with me right now. And before she comes up, I want to talk a little bit and tell you about how these survey questions went here. So there was a survey question. We did a poll, and that poll was, what would you do with $500,000? So you know what? That's a very broad question, but just say what would you do with the first thing you would do, maybe the second thing that you would do. But before you answer that, let's go ahead and get some synergy going here. Let's get some energy going here. Show me some love right now. I have not been live on this platform since COVID. And as we know, COVID really changed the way we look at things. It changed the map. It changed the game in so many different industries, and so many family lives change at the height of COVID. It really did take us through some things that might have been stress, might have been job related. I mean, we really went through with our health. We lost some loved ones, anything. So right now, let me take some time to share this message out today. We want to get as many people on here as possible. If you're on YouTube right now, you have not subscribed to this page, go ahead and subscribe right now. Like and share this right now. I'm definitely looking forward to to you guys showing some love right now. Because if you were not here right now supporting this would be nothing. This platform will not exist without the support and love from people like you. So go ahead and like this video right now. Go ahead and subscribe, and then we'll get to talking about what would you do with $500,000 today, right now, in today's time. Does that sound like a lot of money to you? Or, is it a little bit? Is it a lot? Because we do know back in about, was it how many years ago? I think it's been at least 20 years now. I'm going to tell my age. It's been 20 years ago. And we heard of a really famous person that took 10 grand, flipped it, and made a lucrative living. If you can answer at least that, tell me who that famous person is today that took a $10,000 inheritance, flipped it, and their family is doing so well right now. They have actually, and what I hear is that each individual in that family is a very hard worker. But with a $10,000 inheritance, this artist was able to build an empire. So even though here we will use a lot of artists as examples, but by no means does that exempt us from not being able to do the things that they have done, with their finances. In no way does it make a difference. We're all on the same playing field. Some of us may be playing with a lot, while some of us is playing with not as much. But it really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we are playing. We are on the playing field. So this is definitely a come to Jesus, basically, and where we are very going to be very transparent and very open about how we do what we do and why we do, because that's very, very important, right? And that is it. So without further ado, what I do want to do is bring Miss Alex Davis. She's certified professional accountant. She's been in her career for over 10 years, about 10 years. And she's just a very amazing person. Outside of her being a CPA, she is a mother. She's a mother. And when I first met her, which was literally only 2 weeks ago, she was so warm, such a beautiful spirit. And at the end of the day, that means so much more to me when I'm doing business with someone, or when I decide to partner with someone. So we're going to bring her on, and we're going to discuss, not only what she does, but how my niche and her niche, how we actually collaborate and work together to get things done for the consumer. So if you just have a CPA, you have to have a financial advisor, your insurance agent. All these things have to come together. And what that does is give you a full effect, and and it's really able to, we get that, and we get those things working together for you. Hi there, Crafts and Divine Connection. That is my close friend, Monica. I've been knowing Monica for a long time, and got to give a shout out to her hustle, which is Crafts by Divine Connection. She's on Instagram, so definitely show her some love. Thanks for joining us, Monica. So definitely go ahead and like this, share this. Let's go ahead and get the synergy out right now, because what we don't want is for this type of valuable information to not be heard. We have communities. We have people that are striving to do better, that want to do better. We have people that have been set back in the last 2 years. We have people that that we don't count out at all. Not at all. We don't care. We don't care If you're a first-time generational entrepreneur, to, hey, I'm on Section 8 right now, but you know what? I see a better vision for myself. I see a better vision for myself. Don't think that, just because of your circumstance or where you are right now, that is a indicator of the things that you can't do. When we empower ourselves as a people, as an individual, that gives others the permission to also empower themselves. So it's definitely refreshing to know that when you have people that really care about what they're doing and they're very passionate about what they're doing, their willingness to really reach down and really help people is just amazing. So without further ado, we're going to bring Alexis on, and let's see how to do this. It's been a long time. All right.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you good. How you
Yay.
doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
Okay.
So, so yeah, we got this poll up, right? And so right now, I'm gonna give Alex a shout out right now before we move into it. You got to know Alex is on Instagram at Alex and I'm
Oh, yeah,
sorry,
It's Alexandria.
Alexandria CPA website, alexcpa.com. All right, so we did this survey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our first survey we ran this week was, what would you do with the $500,000? But before we get into that, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and why you're here.
Yes. Hey everyone, I'm Alex Davis. I'm a CPA and financial strategist. I love working with first generation entrepreneurs to use tax strategies and leverage your personal finance to grow their business. It's super important to make sure that you are leveraging your taxes so that way you're not overpaying, and then also making sure that you're building your personal finance to scale and grow your business that much quicker. And why I'm here is because I spent 10 years. As Shalita mentioned, I'm a CPA, a certified public accountant, and I spent a decade working with high net worth individuals and small business owners. And what I found was so many of them, they knew what to do because they came from families that had been doing it for decades, or they were surrounded by their friends who they were in school with who had started businesses. Their parents had started business, so they knew about financial literacy, having good credit, having a CPA. I didn't personally know what a CPA was until I was in college. So I found that I'm like, gosh, they already know. They already have a leg up. And
Wow.
so, yeah. And so I left public accounting, and I decided that, you know what, I want to give all that experience that I learned to help people save tens and hundreds of thousands in taxes. I want to take that to the people who they don't know where to start.
Wow.
Or they've started and they're like, this is getting above me at this point. And so I just wanted
Right.
to bring it back full circle. I'm a first generation entrepreneur, and I just wanted to make sure that I was giving back. And Shalita, you mentioned it doesn't matter where you start, and that really struck a chord with me because I was on Section 8.
Okay.
I had no net worth. In fact, I was in the hole because I had $50,000 of student loan debt. And
Wow.
today I'm completely consumer debt free. My net worth is up to $500,000, funny enough. And it's because I didn't give up and I didn't let how I started dictate how I ended. So just if anyone is listening and that struck a chord with you as well, just know
Yes.
that that's not where it ends at all.
And that's so important because we can get so bogged down in our circumstances, and we'll let that detour us from just taking that one step. And I think that's something that me and you have in common. Like, we looked at our background and we said, you know what? I don't really care where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may be on Section 8. I may have been the first person in my family to receive food stamps. I may have started out, as a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was hard. Yes, it was a struggle. But you know what? I have vision. I can see further than where I am. So just having that belief, knowing that people have been in our shoes,
Mm-hmm.
or that we can really step out and still advance ourselves and not let our circumstance dictate that.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. So what we saying here in pretty much layman terms, we've been there.
Hello.
We've been there. And we
Right.
are still in our process. We're still moving along. Yes, this is the Millionaire Portfolio Group, but does that mean we stacking millions? Not necessarily, but collectively, as a
Right.
collective, we are very resourceful together. We
And
are
we're going to get
leaders
there.
together.
That's what we're building towards.
Exactly. Are our assets, as far as assets, maybe so, but liquidity. I ain't got my million yet, but hey, it's coming.
It's definitely coming.
Oh yeah. So totally agree. Yes, I agree too. So that's that. So let's get into the findings. So we were really like torn half and half. A lot of people submitted what they would do first. So one person, well, not one person, 50, it was 50-50. 50-50, right? A few said that they would do, the first thing they would do is do 10% to their church. That's all. Okay.
Noble.
Okay. Or did he say 10% to the church? It was either church, tithes, or something like that. The other half was real estate. We got a lot of real estate. And I think for our culture, we real estate is tangible. We can see it. And so as far as investing, we kind of cling to that. We cling to that. But at the same time, we have to remember what happened during the 2008 to 2000. It lasted for about 2 years. 2008, 2009 crash. We have to remember, why did our community suffer so much? And we suffered because we did not have a diversified portfolio. We had land, we had a house, but when you put all your eggs in one basket, and a house is tangible, we can see it, we can touch it, it makes us feel some type of way. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that there's so many other things to do to get financially stable and situated. So not only that we have assets, but also that we have liquidity, where we're able to access money if we need it immediately. If we have all our money tied up in an asset that may not sell, then all our money is stuck inside an asset that's not going to sell. So we have to start somewhere, and that's the key, starting. Yeah. So what's your take on that, Alex?
No, you're spot on. I think once you get into this investment game, you diversify, and so it's not wise to have everything in homes. I hear people say, "Oh, I'm using my home as my retirement plan," but as you mentioned, '08, like for those people who were planning on that,
right?
It's over with. And like right now we're in a similar position where prices of homes are really overflated a bit. And so you may be looking at those numbers like, oh, I'm scot-free, but that it may not stay that way. So being smart about taking advantage of where it's at now, and using this opportunity to look at other investment opportunities to protect yourself. Essentially, you just don't want to put, like you say, all your eggs in one basket. Totally agree.
Definitely. So let's move on to our second poll that we did in Yeah. So this is going to really be our conversation starter. So y'all really get ready for it. Get ready for it. So right here, what do Prince and Aretha Franklin have in common besides being an artist and deceased? I didn't get a lot of feedback on this. Maybe people had to do their research. I don't know. But Alex, I'm going to let you explain this one.
So, other than both being artists and deceased, neither one of them actually had a will. And to this day, and we know Prince passed away, I believe, 6 years ago, and Aretha maybe like 3. Neither one of their estates have been settled.
Mm.
And on top of that, that means that they have spent hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of dollars on attorneys to litigate their estate. So when I say they didn't have a will, they basically, when they died, they didn't have any document stating how these assets needed to be distributed. So it's really sad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that leads us into basically discussing, because a lot of, we've heard about wills, those things. But what about, and we know like that's important. Duh, we know that's important. All right. So, but what is the difference between a will and a trust?
So I like to think of it like this. The will basically dictates when you die how you want your assets distributed. Whereas a trust actually says what you want to do with the assets. And that is, and when I say assets, the things that you own. The things that you own, you get to determine how they are used. And you can have trust while you're living or when you're deceased. So I think a trust is having control. And I'm a little bit of a control freak.
Yeah.
So just the idea of having my trust to say, okay, well, this person gets this X amount of money or this asset, but not until. So you can put specifications on how they are used and who it goes to. And then the other difference is a lot of people think if they have a will that they avoid probate, and basically that's like going through the court process. Yeah. That is so false. Having a will does not do that. That just helps identify where the assets are going, but you still have to go through probate if assets are not titled properly. So I think that's the other thing. Whereas if it's held in trust, you get to bypass probate.
Wow, that's what definitely that's what was definitely on my mind. Like just being able to the how the two goes hand in hand pretty much. Mm-hmm. So in layman's term, the will does what?
Basically tells how you want your who you want your assets to go to when you die.
And the trust is the way to distribute the assets.
Well, it tells you what you want to have done with the assets. It also tells you who it wants to go to, but it also dictates how they are distributed. Because once you give something, when something passes to someone in will, they get to determine how they use it. It's theirs outright. Whereas with the trust, there could be stipulations on it.
There's more directives.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Like for me, for instance, like I have a 21-year-old and I have, I do.
Oh, wow. Black definitely don't crack. Hello.
And I have my 17-year-old. Well, and then I have a 6-year-old. So it's all across the board, right? So I put thought into exactly like, I don't want anything that I built to be squandered,
Yes.
Not only that, I don't want it to be lost going from one generation to the next, or being in a situation to where your heirs don't know what to do or how to maintain. So when we talk about inheritance, it's so important for the person to be ready for whatever they're going to receive.
Yes.
So that trust allows basically that person to speak from the grave.
Yes.
And that's why you see we in movies we've seen like, oh, I gotta get married. I'm supposed to be married by the time I'm 30. And if I'm not married, I'm not gonna be able to get my inheritance, my money.
Right.
So much at a certain time because they're thinking like, by this time you should be mature. By this time you should be married.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to have where they just get it all and then they squander it, and then the inheritance end up being more of a hindrance than a help.
100%, because I think it's what is like by the third generation, when there are certain inheritance, it's gone by the third generation, because like what I have found is when you don't always work for the money, you don't always appreciate it. So when it's just handed to you and you are not equipped to handle it, like you said, it can be squandered. And so that's what's nice about having trust in place, because you can dictate, oh no, you can only take out X amount of money this year. If you haven't met these certain qualifications, you can't get your inheritance. So putting those mechanisms in place is so incredible. And then you mentioned having a varying age of children. A lot of times this happens with blended families, and having trust in place is super
now that's
helpful.
a whole nother topic that we really got to dissect. That is right now in today's with the divorce rate.
Yes.
Just not getting married, but you have kids.
Yes.
That is the major thing. Like, that's even the more seriousness to have a will and a trust.
100%.
Especially with blended families coming together and remarrying and that kind of stuff. It's very crucial.
It's beyond crucial. And I think sometimes people feel like you have to have a certain amount of money or a certain amount of assets, things that you own, to get a will and a trust. And that is so far from the truth, especially when you have children. Like, I don't care if you own a golf cart, you want to be able to dictate where that goes. Right. And so, but especially when you have children, and then you life insurance policies, and that's why I have my trust in place, because I have a 17-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I wanted to make sure I was speaking for what I wanted to have happen, and so that's why I made sure that I have a trust in place. But it's also this stigma around, oh, I don't have, I'll just wait. And I would encourage you that if you are watching this, don't just wait. We do not know when our time on this earth is going to stop, and I would rather you be over prepared than under, because we're talking about Prince and Aretha. They're still fighting to figure out who gets what, and there's no need for that when you can be proactive and get something in place.
That's a lot of discord.
Yeah.
That's sad. So it tells me that it really doesn't matter the amount of money that you have. It's really based on your knowledge. And you can have people around you that won't say anything, or, is not, I don't know how you can have all those years, have that many people around you, and then the families don't have that conversation.
But this is the thing. Sometimes there are conversations had and people don't want to deal with it. Talking about your death is not sexy, right? Because that's what it was. Like, your will does not come into play until you're deceased. Wow. And so some people feel like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. It's morbid. It's this, it's that. But I think it's empowering. How I look at it when I talk to clients, I say, how empowering is it that you get to decide how your money goes when you're not here? Right. You get to share your love from the grave and how you want your family members to live and all that. So let's look at it as being empowering, as opposed to thinking about your death. Empower yourself to make these decisions, so you're not rolling over in your grave because they've just blown all your money on lottery tickets, right? Or whatever, Wow. So it's empowering. And when I think when you look at it from in that lens, it's like, oh no, I want to do this. Yes, yes, absolutely. So that's the other thing. And then I do want to mention, this is the other thing, and there are people out there who, when someone passes away, when there is not a will or a trust in place, they actually look in obituaries, find a name, and then they go and because just FYI, when someone passes away and you're going through probate, you're required to disclose that the probate process is happening. So if anyone has any, if the deceased person has debts, the creditors can come in and claim it. But there are people who go out, look and see, oh, who is this? They just pick a name and then they go to the executor and say, hey, this person owes me $5,000. Well, most likely, depending on the estate, the executor doesn't want to be bothered with that. And so they will just cut a check to get this person off their back. They do that. But when you have a will and trust in place, even if someone comes and does something like that, they can shut that stuff down. So just being mindful of things like that is super, super helpful to just ease. If when you're dead, your family's already mourning you. They're sad about that. Don't let them have to worry about that too. Is my thought on that.
Right. Okay. So we said a lot. So I just want to see make sure if anybody have any questions, you can go ahead and pop them up here as we're kind of going through this information. So I know you worked, in corporate, and I've worked with CPAs, trust attorneys. So from your point of view, what is the work that has to be done between a financial advisor or an insurance broker with the CPA?
So it varies, but it's great when everyone talks to one another. I will say that I have my most success with tax planning when the financial advisor is talking to me as the accountant and we have the attorneys involved, because when you're structuring your trust documents, it may work for like legality purposes, but then it may cause a tax issue. So having everyone talk is super important. It helps with tax planning. Is the main reason that I like to have those relationships connected. Same thing with investments. The financial advisor may set up a wonderful investment plan, but if you haven't considered the tax implications of it, it could end up really costing the taxpayer. So just being involved in the planning is super important. So that way we're not causing any tax issues down the line.
Right. And that's very important. And I think a lot of times, let me say this, a lot of times we can be so focused on income. We're focused on income. We're focused on our career titles. I hear an echo. I don't know where that echo is coming from. I don't know where the echo is coming from. I hate echoes. But we can be so focused on our income. We're focused on what we're making, the salary, and we're not being mindful that we're going from we're going to another tax bracket. We're not being mindful of how we're being taxed. If you're W-2, you're being taxed a certain way. If you're a 1099er, you're being taxed a certain way. If you do a Schedule C, that's another type of tax implication, or a partnership, or just a sole proprietor LLC. We're setting up things and not really identifying what that's going to look like as far as taxes. Because for one, if you came up without not really having it like that, it's like, I don't care about to make this money. I don't care. You don't care until the bill hits, or you don't care until you're at the end of life. And what happened is you occurred all this money. You've occurred it, but the way that you stored it, the way that it was stored now has a tax implication. Or the way that it was left, is some family members gonna be upset. Or some wives gonna be mad because nobody sat down and nobody really explained, well, this is how this works. When you win the lottery, you're not really looking at the 30% that they're gonna take, 35%. Until they take it, you're like, wait a minute, I didn't really get what I got. Wait a minute. This is the same way people are feeling when they're at in the retirement phase, and when somebody then passed on a husband that the wife was dependent on, or even a business owner that had a key person employee, so it is such a major factor. And we're not looking at the percentage, we're not looking at the implications. So we've seen a lot of that be ignored, and it's like, oh my God, oh my God, you've been doing what? If you would have had this type of product, you actually have this much. But because you paid these fees, and because this language for the IRS means this, so now this is the tax implication.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty heartbreaking when you see like 40% of it just gone, just wiped away. And a lot of times these things can be avoided, having conversations and getting in front of it, getting in front of that tax bill, but having the conversations, because this is what I was thinking. I think in some communities talking about money is like taboo, like, oh no, we don't talk about our money. We don't, and we really have to. Now, I'm not saying talk to everyone about it. No, you need to be, aware of that, but you need to find a professional that you're comfortable with to have these discussions before you're nearing retirement. You want to get in front of that. And no, it's never too late, but I just really encourage people to get to let go of that stigma around money. And because that's what I have just personally found. And I'm speaking to myself. I was that way where I was like, oh no, I have to. But it's like, no, I need to talk, like, because if you don't talk to people, you're left with just your own information. And if you don't know where to start, like, how far behind are you if you're not actually working with someone? So that's just, it touched my spirit to say that, and so I went with it.
Right. Totally understand that. So, a lot of people, or a few people, came on because, the title of this was How to Use Money Effectively and Efficiently. So we're really talking about efficiency. We're not talking about, okay, yeah, you making money. Yeah, you got the money. Yeah, you can buy cars cash. Yeah, you can do this. Yeah, you can. You have the ability to do that. But is it the best way to do it? 10 years from now, or a year from now, or we could just say in one physical year, these purchases make a huge difference in how it can be wrote off or not written off, or those type of things. So it really makes a difference.
100%.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So let's see. We were actually discussing operating agreements. Listen, operating agreements are good for the family.
Truly.
I think we overlook family first. Like, family is your first business.
Yes.
We don't get that business together. What business you talking about?
Yes.
So running a house, kids, husband, what, all of that is family business. And when we talk about blended families, when I first blended my family, what was that? I don't know, 8 years ago, maybe. It's been a while. The first thing that we put in place was an operating agreement.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So we can know each other's expectations. So
That's so
everybody,
smart.
yeah. So everybody can have a realistic idea of how the house operates. What's being paid out, what needs to come in. So everybody could play a role or play their part. I think a lot of times with everybody doing their own thing, you got the internet, you got so many distractions, and you got everybody's growing. So you want to make sure your family is growing together and not apart by being transparent. Like, be transparent with, I'm about to go off topic now, but this is so related.
Yes.
Like, be transparent with your emotions, how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Be transparent with, what you expect. Don't expect somebody to basically read your mind, So it's a lot, and I think if we can learn how to really operate our family structure, then it'll be so much easier to go into business and have such a smooth workflow in that as well, where we're able to collaborate, we're able to bring on partners, we're
Mm-hmm.
able to work in such a congruent relationship versus being at odds.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
So craft the
Somebody,
goals.
somebody needs to hear that.
Yeah, right, right. So I know we both like had our experiences, and experiences what really make, shape, and mold us. And you really said something profound about, having that mentality, being secretive of it, or, and we've seen that a lot where we had to get it from somewhere, where we didn't really discuss finances at our table.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we didn't discuss how to put these things into place, to where we just think like, well, I don't have that much, so I don't need to do anything. Or, well, this is my first time. We're dealing with so many first time generations that's has even went to a whole new tax
Mm-hmm.
bracket. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of new nuances, and it's like looking for direction, just looking for direction. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this up here as well. We've been on. If you have any questions, you could type them in the chat. We're ready to take any questions right now. Any questions, any comments?
And having these opportunities when you are able to have access to people who have been in their industry for over a decade and taking advantage of that, like don't be shy. And even if
Mm,
you watch the replay and you're like,
right,
oh, I have a question, reach out. I know for me myself, like I have consultations, I have pick my brain sessions that you can register for, so that way you don't feel like you are alone. And even if you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't talk to my family about it, talk to someone about it to try and get to resolution.
right.
Especially working with entrepreneurs, I see so often where either they get behind on filing their tax returns,
Mm-hmm.
or they end up with this huge bill at the end of the year, and it was
Right.
because they're like, oh, they just didn't know, or oh, I didn't know I had to keep my books like this. And it, like,
Wow.
just having conversations would be so helpful, because when you get a $60,000 tax bill and you're and there's nothing that can really be done because you've already passed all the elections that you can make, you're past the year end to make any additional contributions to the retirement plan or change your type of entity structure, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's heartbreaking.
Right.
Um, so just making sure that you are taking advantage and not being afraid to make an investment. I think that might be the other thing that I see, is that sometimes you don't always want to make the investments. And so that's just something you really have to say, hey, how is this going to help me, and go ahead and going for it.
Wow. So I just posted the link for introduction call or a strategy call with myself or Alex. So wow, that's what would you say on someone like just starting, say like or they have plans? What would be like the go-to thing to do?
First, they're just starting a business.
A business, or they just got a promotion to where they tax bracket and change. How can they prepare for what's to come?
No, like truly knowing your numbers. I feel like that's something that we don't always know. Like we think we know, but we don't know. But understanding, hey, this is the income you're bringing in, and then what is going out. What expenses do you have going out? Household expenses, but also like your retirement accounts. And I will say the U.S. government favors business owners and investors.
Yes.
And just because you have a W-2 does not mean you can't be an investor. If you're contributing to your 401k at work, you're an investor. If you're contributing to a traditional or Roth IRA, you're an investor. So there are perks to doing that. So know your numbers is the first step. Understanding like what your long term. In a minute, Amaya. Knowing what your goals are is also a big step. And the reason I say that is if you have an idea of what your vision is, you are going to make sure that the things you need to do once you talk to someone, you're going back and looking at that vision is going to keep you focused and keep you on track with that. So first step one, know your numbers, and then have your vision when you're just getting started. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anything that we're leaving out because we're about to wrap up? I think that's definitely a good way to start.
No, I think that's really all I had. Did you have anything to add when people are just starting out? Like, what have you seen that you wish that more people would do when they're just starting out?
Yeah. So 2 things I would say for starters too, because I'm all about, hey, let's start that portfolio, get that started. And anybody can start. You start with your first check. And as a parent, we have to start teaching this. Like, don't need a whole lot of money to start anything.
Mm-mm.
All you need is a will and a way. You know, if you think it, do it. If you think it, inquire about it. Don't keep it to yourself. Talk about it. Share it. So somebody can refer you to who you need to see, because if you keep it in your mind, nobody can read your mind. Nobody knows you need help. So what we have to do is be proactive. So even with kids, you know, everybody talks about credit, build your credit. That's great. And they talk about getting a job. That's the 2 major things that I hear in the community a lot: credit and a job, credit and a job.
Yeah.
But nobody's talking about what to do with that first check.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with that first check?
Well, definitely don't spend it all. You need to make sure you know what I'm saying? That's the thing. You need to save. I would say you save at least 25%, especially if you don't have bills.
Right. Exactly. So I'm going to be getting more into that tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but Saturday. I have a 10 o'clock live on the best money investments outside of banking. But to build discipline, saving is a great way to build that discipline. But once you deal with your savings, you want to stop thinking that life insurance is for funeral expenses.
Oh, that is listen. You see, don't even get me started on that. See,
that's a lie from hell. I don't know who first told that lie, but don't y'all believe that, y'all? I meet insurance agents that are new to being licensed or new to the industry, and they be like, I want to help people that are not insured. I want to because people be using GoFundMe. Maybe they, if somebody can't afford to buy life insurance to be buried, then fine. I don't feel like if they have minimal income, no one should be stressed to buy life insurance, because for one, the only time if they're buying life insurance to be buried, that means they're almost at the end of life, and that they didn't plan properly throughout their life. So life insurance was not created to bury you. You can buy a plot. You can make payments over time. Life insurance was established to build and protect. And I'm going to get more into that on Saturday at 10 a.m. So we have to train and teach our children how to properly and effectively use life insurance to to build. You know, we got to get out of the mindset as if life insurance is to bury people, because it's not. It's just not. That's just false.
Yeah.
It's just false belief. And we want to stop false belief. So if you wonder how the rich keep getting richer, you know, or how to get on the path to first being rich. That's the first thing, is rich. Second, getting wealth. Wealth means now, you know, this is my legacy. This is what I created, not just for me, but for the people around me, my kids, or the people that come after me. You know, that's wealth. So a lot of us, you know, we ran into money. There's a lot of people that has been rich and died broke.
Oh yeah.
It's just mentality. So getting the mind ready to receive is such a major thing, you know.
To receive and retain.
That's major. That's the major key component right there.
And retain, because I mean, we see it, especially in this day and age where it's 6 and 7 figure earners with in 12 months. This is happening. But if you do not know how to retain it, it will slip through your fingers, and you won't have really anything to show. And I know one thing we didn't talk about, and I'm happy to come back on another time, was just using life insurance when you have a business, making sure that that's incorporated, especially now when it's so difficult to find employees. Having insurance in place for a key employee if they are to pass away, having something in place if a partner in your business dies, and making sure that you're able to replace what they had. So insurance is so flexible, but you have to understand it and know what's available to make sure you're taking advantage of it. So that way you can continue to build your wealth and you are not hurt. So, right. But they'll have to. We've been on here long enough, so we will have to table that for another time. But it's just food for thought, because it's really that you're just now hearing this for the first time, and it will pique your interest. So that way you can make sure you can look into that or inquire about it further.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You know, if anybody have any final thoughts, you can type them here. But for now, we're going to say good night. We'll give a few seconds. If anybody have any final thoughts, anything they want to share, you can share now. Share now. Other than that, thanks for coming on. If you're not subscribed to this page, make sure you subscribe now. So you can catch Saturdays live, because that's going to be very informative when it comes to investing. There has been so many dialogues surrounding around Wendy Williams, and it's not about, you know, this is, and it has happened not just to her. It's just because it's her, it's in the limelight, but this has happened to so many regular people. So we're going to kind of discuss that, and we're going to discuss alternative ways to preserving and saving money in investing. So I look forward to seeing everybody here on Saturday. Thanks so much for chiming in, Alex. Thank you so much for coming on.
And thank you for having me. I so appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. No final thoughts. No, this was really informative.